What is up? My name is Patrick. It is later than you think. Thanks for being here. Today's episode, which we're going to get right into, is a jam-packed hour of conversation with my guest, Jess from the San Francisco Bay Area. I have known Jess for roughly 20 years. She is a friend of mine and is married to someone who I've known for my whole life. Steve, which we'll get into, has a nickname or two that many of my friends know him as, which you'll hear about a bit later in the episode. Steve and I grew up next to each other in the suburbs of Milwaukee, and we're next door neighbors for the first, we'll say, 11, 12 years of our life. And then we were more regional neighbors for the remainder of our adolescence and early adulthood until Steve and Jess moved out to the San Francisco area about a decade ago. Jess has, like I think many of my guests, I think I've said this before, has a lot going on. And there is really interesting and fascinating things that she will share with us about many of the hobbies that she has, as well as how some of those hobbies have turned into work opportunities for her. It was great to catch up with Jess. Again, I've known her for many years, but I really didn't know a lot about what she enjoys from those hobbies and those work opportunities and different titles and positions she's had over her life. So it was fun to reminisce a bit about stories from the past, as well as learn some new things about one another. Here is my conversation with Jess. Okay, I want to introduce a very good and dear friend of mine, Jess, all the way out from the Bay Area, San Francisco-ish, a little bit. Welcome, Jess.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Of course. It's good to hear you, good to see you. It's been a minute.
Yeah, too long.
It has been too long. I think last time I chatted with you was at Bar Louie in Brookfield.
Yeah, and we went to the mall and it was disappointing.
I was so excited to show you. I was so excited to show you the ghost town of a mall that exists there.
That I once worked at.
Yeah, that was so funny. Speaking of which, the Bar Louie is now closed. However, I'm sure some of those stores still exist. We went into that one, or we went by some weird clothing store. I think we went inside. That was just had the most rain. It was such a big space.
It smelled like denim. Like,
yeah.
Like brand new boxes of like indigo dye. It was bad.
And then we did the photo booth, but we didn't pay for the photo. We just took our own selfies.
That worked too, yeah.
Yeah, that was a sad state because I believe that was a Thursday and it was like 6:00.
Yeah.
There was no reason that those stores should have been closed or.
No, I think they're just permanently perma-closed.
Yeah. It was. However, there's been some other malls that have bounced back in the area. So that's.
Have there? That's good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, Bayshore is thriving. They've got
great
apartment complexes built over there. They have a whole like green space where they do movies, they do live music events. They've added restaurants. Fun. And for those of you that don't know, Jess and I have known each other for many years. I've actually known her husband a hell of a lot longer, since Steve and I have been friends since we were babies. Yeah, Steve's got about 3 months on me, and we lived next door to each other since about that time. And,
he always tells me about shells, because every time we have like macaroni and cheese with shells, he's like, I always used to go to Patrick. His mom would be like, hey, Steven, you want to come over for shells tonight? So you come up every time we eat mac and cheese shells.
She's gonna enjoy that. So the food that we had growing up, which was a family favorite, was pastry shells, like those frozen pastry shells that you get at the store, and then it was chipped beef, and then there was some sort of cream sauce that was on there, and that was part of the dinner.
And cheese. Cheese, of course, yeah, I'm sure.
Some cheese. We had cheese straws and all that. Yeah, it was great. So that was. I'm glad Steve remembers that. That's
oh yeah, I hear it every time.
And people growing up knew Steve. My friends in grade school, obviously, and then Steve moved away from where we grew up. I think he was in 6th grade. I was in 5th grade. I had the summer birthday, and so Mom decided to let me hang out another year before going to school, which was probably smart in the long run. And up until, middle school, we hung out all the time, next door neighbors. Steve ends up moving to another town or city, half hour, 45 minutes away. We still hang out quite a bit, actually. Our parents would go drive to like the McDonald's in the middle, and we would like pass each other off, like, oh, I'll stay at his house this weekend, and vice versa. And then we started driving, and we would go to each other's houses. And I was thinking about this the other day when I was setting up our interview here, that my high school friends know Steve as Soccer Steve. And the reason is because, again, I went to high school that had 500 and some kids in my class. And so occasionally on Monday we'd be hanging out in study hall or lunch, and someone's like, oh, what did you do this weekend? I'm like, oh, I hung out with my buddy Steve. And they'd say, oh, like which Steve? Because there's probably going to be a few at least in our grade. And I'm like, oh, no, it's a buddy of mine I grew up with. And I used to say just a buddy of mine used to grow up with. We've known each other all our lives. And I think at one point I said, like, oh, I used to play soccer with him. And
so that's how it happened.
After that, I don't even remember which one it was. I have an idea. It was probably one of a few. But after that, the times, a few months would go by, and I'd be like, oh, I hung out with my buddy Steve this weekend. And they're like, oh, Soccer Steve? And so it just stuck. So then everyone just started calling him Soccer Steve, even if they had met him or not.
Yeah.
So we get like into college age, and then, we're having parties at each other's houses, and Steve would come to my house to hang out or go out, and I introduce him, and they're like, oh, this must be Soccer Steve.
Yeah. I remember that. You guys used to go to a secret party, and somebody made him a shirt or something that said Soccer Steve on it.
The bench
I was like,
night.
Soccer Steve?
Oh, man.
Yeah, bench night. There you go. I knew it had to do with a bench.
That was supposed to be something that went on forever, every year, and I think we made it like 3 years.
Yeah. You guys should start it up again.
We should. The bench is no longer there, but we can still go hang out where the bench was.
Go take a bench and then make it happen.
One of the guys I had, one of my first guests on the podcast was actually, that started by my brother-in-law, but then Joe, who you've met, and his friend Steve. They were the two initial bench night people, and I had Steve on my podcast a few months ago, and I totally forgot to bring that up with him, but when I talk to him next, I will ask him about that.
I forgot all about that until you said Soccer Steve.
Yes.
Because I knew everybody, all those people called him Soccer Steve, and I remembered that.
Yep. Good old Soccer Steve.
Man.
I know.
When did I first meet you? Was it my birthday party? My 21st birthday party?
It had to be. How long had you been dating Steve at the time?
A couple of months.
Okay, because I remember I met you within definitely the first like 6 months of you guys dating.
Yeah. So. I think, that's the first time I was like, I'll have this, your best friend, I suppose. I'll allow him to come to my party. It was a good time. Do you know we've been together? We met each other 20 years ago, coming up in a couple days.
That's insane.
That's wild.
That is. Holy cow.
I can't even, it's hard to fathom that it's been that long.
Married for what, 11, 12?
11.
11? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 11 years. I had to think about that.
That's good stuff. Well, my parents.
That's crazy. 20 years ago.
My parents just hit 50.
Wow, good for your parents. Holy moly.
Nuts. Yeah.
I got 30 years left to get there.
You'll get there. Unless,
Yeah, I can still
unless
be alive. We'll be good.
you got it. All right. Well, hey, let's get into some fun topics that we've got planned for today.
Sure.
I want to ask you, it seems like you got a lot going on. I know we keep it up with each other on Instagram mostly, but I want to know how did you get interested and involved in your modeling, and how has this improved your confidence over time?
So let's see. I think a little bit of it came from when I was younger. I grew up in like a pageant family.
Oh,
My
cool.
cousin was in Miss Wisconsin. She's still involved in Miss Wisconsin, but she was in the pageant itself 3 times, and she still helps out with various things like pageants all over the southeastern Wisconsin. And she was just helping out with the Miss Wisconsin pageant, which happened I think last weekend. But so I grew up in that kind of an environment, and I am not by any means a pageant girl because that's not for me. I learned that a long time ago when I was a teenager. I'm just like, okay, I can do this, but I don't know. So fast forward, I took a little step away from it when I was a teenager, and I never really pursued although there is amazing scholarship money involved in that. So amazing scholarship money. I'm pretty sure that my cousin had her entire college career paid for just from the pageants that she was in and won. So I never did that. I never really wanted to, I never knew what I wanted to do when I was younger. So didn't follow that path. But fast forward a few years, we moved to California about 10 years ago already. And I really like the car scene, like car shows and stuff like that. And I was an event coordinator, and they had a 50s night, 50s, 60s night, like a vintage night, cars and like all sorts of fun stuff as a fundraiser. And they had a photographer there and had like vintage photo shoots. And so me and him were just messing around because we were testing things out. And turns out a couple weeks later, he's like, hey, let's take pictures. You should enter this pinup contest, which is like a pageant, but
Yeah.
like mini pageant. And so we did. And I took some pictures and submitted them for the show or the pinup contest. And I entered. I didn't win, but it was a really cool experience. And I got to meet some amazing people. And the pinup world is a little different than like the formal pageant world. I think the pageant world is very strict and, the types of things that are allowed. And over the last 20 years, that has calmed down quite a bit. But the pinup world, everybody is celebrated, like
Okay.
everybody,
That's
no
cool.
matter what type of body type you have, no matter what, like everybody is equal and everybody is just there to make the other person feel good. We're all there together. We're all in it together. And as a group of people, like if you ever, yeah, if you ever, if you ever dress up like a pinup, but hey, if you do, it's,
To each his
it's
own.
like, it's like a whole vibe when you get multiple pinups together, like we can
Yeah.
pretty much conquer anything. And I gained a lot of confidence from that. Moving somewhere new, I wasn't really sure like how my personality would jive with other people. I didn't really
Mhm.
know how to meet a lot of people. The bar scene out here, it was nowhere near as cool as it was in Milwaukee. Like I definitely didn't realize what I had until it was gone. But it was harder to meet people. It was harder to meet like interesting friends, like-minded folks. So I just kind of started with that same photographer that had started out. And he's like, hey, do you want to take pictures with cars? I was like, cool. I know some people with cars. So then I started getting into the car scene and knowing people with cars. I'm like, hey, can I take photos with your car? Do you think that'd be cool? And then I would just submit them to magazines and they'd get published, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And so I really started and that was just like every now and again, every, couple of months, I'd do something like that. And it grew during COVID because there's nothing else really to do. So I'm like, all right, well, we're all just kind of sitting here in our pajamas feeling crummy about ourselves. Like, let's go out and do something. And both my mom passed away 10, 11 years ago, and then my dad passed away in 2021. So it was really, really hard time for me, just like emotionally. And I don't think any of that really hit me until my dad passed away from my mom. So it was really hard emotionally. And it was one of those things that I know I even though I didn't feel like it at the time, I know I liked to do it and I like how I feel when I do it. And I just kind of forced myself to continue doing that. And it turned out to be a lot of fun. I mean, it was kind of one of those like fake it till you make it things,
Yeah.
but I wasn't really like I was really there, but I was kind of
Mhm.
faking the positivity until I could actually feel it. And then when I could actually feel it, it made a whole world of difference. And I made so many friends who are like, I want to really get into that. How do you do that? Like,
Sure.
how do I model? Like, and so I would get a lot of different people involved and they're like, no, I could never do that. I could never. I'm like, of course you can. If I can do it, you can do it. Like it, and even though a lot of them, I don't really feel like at the time, I didn't feel like I was that person. I'm like, I didn't see myself as the person in the pictures, even though that was me. So that kind of falls back on the fake it till you make it part.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I know I used to be this amazing, beautiful, confident person, and I just didn't feel like that for the longest time. But I still wanted to like prove it to myself. Like I can be this person still. And I mean, it took a few years and a lot of other things, but
Yeah.
but it really, really helps me a lot. And I made some amazing relationships with different photographers, different people that, let me shoot at their locations or let me shoot with their cars. It's just been it's been kind of a fun ride that is just, I mean, it's really just a hobby for me. I don't get paid for it, but I am published in, I don't know, a stack of magazines.
That's
So that's
amazing.
pretty cool. It was
Yeah.
one of those like, I don't know if I'm going to look like this forever, so I might as well just let's flaunt it while you got it.
Now, I mean, when you're publishing magazines, do they? I mean, they need your permission to use, or to maybe the photographer's permission to use the photo.
Right,
Is that
right.
something that there is possibility for
Yeah.
to earn at some point?
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean, well, I made money on one of those
Okay.
paid sites, those
Yeah.
other kind of sites. I mean, that there's money there to be made and it's
Got it.
actually like really not hard. So,
Okay. Okay.
and I
Now,
didn't have to share, I didn't have to share anything that I didn't want to share. So,
right. Correct. As far as where you and Steve are located, as far as you're traveling for this, is that something that you get the opportunity to go into the city, or is it kind of just in the area? How does that work?
both.
Okay.
So, I have a photographer friend, his name is Steve.
Of course, of
Steve the
course.
photographer and I.
Steve the photographer, not soccer Steve, everyone.
Steve the photographer and I, he likes to go travel a lot of different places. So I mean, I'll probably go within maybe, and I think 2 hours is the farthest that we've
Okay.
gone from here. But if you hit it at the right time, one of our goals is to go to like one of the waterfalls. There's some waterfalls in the spring around here.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to say around here, like San Francisco area. San
Yeah,
Francisco's
yeah,
like a couple hours away, but an hour away, I'll say, and not traffic time. But yeah, so there's some cool waterfalls and stuff. And so like that's one of our goals. We want to go do that stuff. But then in 2020, I got a car. I got my own car. So I'm just like, well, I want to model with my own car. And
yeah.
then I got friends to model with my car. And so it's kind of like I learned this confidence for myself and I want to pass it on to other people. And I think that that's the way where I feel most, I don't want to say satisfied, but like that's the way that I feel satisfied with it is like if I can pass this on to somebody else, this feeling, even if just, I'm going to make you feel like you're in the paparazzi for like,
Yeah.
you're famous or you're special. I just want to make people feel special like people have made me feel. And it was
Yeah.
one of those different photographers, you work with different people and everybody's got different preferences, different types of photos they like, different vibes. And sometimes you drive with photographers and sometimes not. But some photography places, I've actually paid for a few of them, but the ones that I've paid for have been like a full service type of thing. So like
Okay.
they'll have your wardrobe ready, they'll get somebody to do your hair, do your
Oh,
makeup,
cool.
and then you get an X amount of sets that you get to do whatever with. So for my birthday this past year, my 40th birthday, I bought myself a photo shoot. And it was one of those full service, and
Yeah.
it was with a snake, like a real snake, like a big,
Oh man.
like that sucker was like 7 feet long. But it turned out really cool and I wound up on the cover of a magazine for that one. So that's just kind of cool. It's just like a fun notoriety. Like,
Yeah.
it's not really like, I don't know if I want to get paid for it because then it might kind of take the fun out of it for me.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Makes
It's
sense.
because it's just a hobby, and I enjoy it. And like I said, I enjoy passing that along to other people too. And photographers that are just getting started, like I've been on both sides of it. I can take the pictures and I can be behind, in front of the camera and behind the camera. But Steve, my husband, soccer Steve, he is another one that he is phenomenal photographer. Who knew? He's got the eye to take amazing photos. So that's kind of something that he and I did when, we were locked down or when we don't have anywhere to go or, or like we don't have anything to do. But when we didn't have anything to do, that was a really fun thing that we did together. So, I mean, it's forever. It's gonna go on forever. I love it. Like this past weekend, I dressed up like a pinup and went out to a car show that was going on, and it was a pre 1973 or something car show. So it was a lot of like older, I'd say like 30s through 60s cars. And so it worked perfectly. So I dressed up like a pinup and then I showed up and then these other gals that I know, they're in a pinup club or pinup group called the Victory Bombshells. And and we met up and I was like, I didn't know you guys were going to be here. Just one of those like, hey, I already know somebody here. I already have this great, like repertoire with them. Like they're amazing people. The whole story how I met them is kind of crazy. Back to this first pinup contest that I was in. It was for a car show, pet animal fundraiser or an animal rescue. And they did it one year. And she's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to do it the next year. I don't have anybody to plan it. So I'm like, I'll plan, just stepping in. I'm like, I'll plan this. I can figure it out. So I did. I planned it. I hosted and planned and emceed an entire pinup contest. And then our winner that year was one of the gals in the Victory Bombshells. So we've had that kind of relationship for I think it's been about 9 years now that she won that title. So they actually wound up hosting that same pinup contest for the last, few, I don't know, 8 years or something. The group, the Victory Bombshells did. So it's kind of a weird roundabout thing, but it was a really great way just to build each other up. All of us ladies just kind of build each other up. And like I said, there's so many different types of pinups out there that it's a whole world that you can get into if you want. Like there's a whole week, like a week in Las Vegas called Viva Las Vegas. And it's all like vintage pinups, the retro cars, like everybody dresses the part. It's like you're in Las Vegas in 1965. It's fantastic. So like there's an entire world to be had, but I kind of just stick with what I like. I like the 60s, 70s type of stuff if I'm going to pick an era, but I like it all. I mean, and I'm all about the modeling too. Like it's just making people feel comfortable in their own skin, which is really hard to do, especially with, everything on social media and, we grew up in the 2000s. So it's like, everybody's got to be thick, thin, like a heroin chic, look like Paris Hilton. Like, no, that's not realistic. It's not a realistic thing to attain. So it's breaking a lot of those stereotypes, I think, and just being comfortable being myself, because realistically, authenticity is probably the most genuine thing that anybody can ever show.
Definitely.
And and that's it. I'm just going to leave it at that. Otherwise, I'll keep talking.
I completely agree. And that's powerful to hear, just again, the comparisons to what things used to be like, but really, where they are now as far as body image and things like that, what should be acceptable. And bring in the authenticity as well. Another thing I think it's important, as you mentioned, it being more of a hobby, is that you get to pick and choose what you enjoy, and you enjoy the modeling, you enjoy the confidence it's given you, and you're doing it with cars, which you also enjoy. So you've got essentially like the best of both worlds versus, if I somehow was trying to make this podcast more of a full-time job and I had to interview people I didn't want to talk to, like I can pick my schedule when this is getting recorded. 2, I can talk to people I want to talk to. So that's the beauty of just doing something on the side that's more enjoyable versus the possible
Absolutely.
stress and burnout, kind of like you mentioned, that could happen from that.
Oh yeah, we've been there. I've been there. Been there. It's been a few years to get out of that one, but
Yeah, that's cool.
that's a whole other thing. But
Oh, right.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. I mean, it's picking and choosing what you want to do, and I think that everything happens for a reason, and all of the stuff that I just mentioned is really helpful because I am it for a job. I realized that I wasn't in a place I wanted to be, and that being able to pick and choose what I wanted for a hobby doesn't mean that I can only do that for a hobby. Why can't I do that for a job that I want to work at?
sure.
So I tell everybody I'm retired now, and I just contract myself out, do whatever I want. I realistically have about 4 jobs right now, though.
Good for you.
So
Keeps you busy.
yeah,
So,
I mean they're not full time, but yeah.
hey, speaking of, I want to get into another kind of a hobby, and maybe there's more to share on this, but I'd like to hear more about your vintage art collection stuff that you've got going on.
Yes. Well, today I actually was just in a friend's storage unit. He's an amazing guy, and he has a beautiful, like, his actual stuff in his house is like pristine, like 1930s, 1940s type of stuff.
Oh, wow.
And so he goes anywhere from the 20s to the 60s for like furniture and, collectibles, things like that. And he's ready to just start thinning down his stuff. So I was out at his storage unit today picking through some of his pieces and kind of like putting my name on them. Like I'll come back when I have an empty car, I'll get that. But yeah, I lost my job last year, and I've always kind of on the side had this little side hustle where I would refinish furniture and buy and sell like vintage stuff or mid-century stuff. And so I lost my job, and I'm like, okay, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like I know I can make money doing this. So I did it. It was just, you know what I love is one of those things, fake it till you make it. I know I like doing this. I might not feel like I like doing it right now, but once I start it, I know I'll enjoy it. And then seeing the finished product of whatever it is that I'm making or, cleaning up or selling is totally worth it to me. And I think that just, if you want a real psychological reason, it goes back to when you're a little kid and you're like, hey, I made this,
Yeah.
and your parents are like, oh my God, it's so great, whatever.
Great
But
point.
it's just that whole creating something. And I realized it took that to make me realize that that is really what is the basis of everything that I enjoy is creating things. So like interior design, I have a degree in interior design. It's creating a space where somebody feels comfortable or welcomed or whatever you want the space for. Modeling, it's creating something. It's creating a picture that will invoke or evoke the right emotion from people or me. Me, for instance, I just did it for me, but other people like to look at it, But it's creating is like the basis of everything that I do. So I have a space in like an antique store. It's a co-op store. There's 13 different vendors. I have a 10 by 10 space now. I had that a while ago. I was there for about a year. I left for my last job, and then this last job got rid of me. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go back.
Mm.
So I sell a lot of small things there, and I took a little bit of a break from the furniture. And now that somebody's just handing me lemons, aka furniture, I might have to pick some of
Yeah.
that up. But it's pretty lucrative business. I mean, if you're especially in the Bay Area, like if you have the creativity to think of something or turn something into a beautiful piece of art or a beautiful piece of furniture or I like to restore things, but I also like to turn them into something else. They don't need to just be the same piece of furniture. So I really enjoy doing that. And a lot of that I think is too is the history of picking up things. And like I know what I like, I know what sells quickly at this point. I mean, all the stuff behind me is for sale. It's on eBay. I have an eBay store too. So I know what sells quickly and I know what I like. And I'm just kind of sticking with that because I don't want to be stuck with things. If I have to sit here and look at it, I don't want to be stuck with something that I don't really like. And,
Yeah.
like if the internet exists, the people who like it also will find me. That
Yes.
kind of a thing.
I,
So,
I remember you listing
yeah.
a handful of things. I don't know whether it was Facebook or Instagram, but wow, that looks really cool. And knowing that you had the eBay store too, and it looked like everything like, oh, she must be doing pretty well because she's selling something else now. It was just like more and
Yeah,
more
it
was
was.
popping up, so that's great.
It's really at the mercy of whatever I can find. I don't go out in a day and be like, well, I'm going to find this piece of furniture
Yeah,
today.
right. Yeah.
However, the universe has a weird way of saying, if I want to find this type of dresser, somebody will have one, I'll find one for free or, whatever.
Yep.
So I just it helped me have put a little bit of trust back into the unknown, the universe, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to call it, and
Yep.
just say, hey, I want to find one of these one day. And if you put it out there, it'll make it to you. But yeah, I think it's like creating stuff. It all comes back to the
Mm-hmm.
creating stuff, and it makes me happy. That's my happy place. That's where I'm like zen. If I'm sitting there with some
Love it.
headphones on, just standing a piece of furniture, that's like zen for me. The world just shuts down and it's quiet and peaceful. Like that's the
So
way that I find it.
it sounds like that creativity is a big factor into all this. And I just am kind of, this is just this thought came to me.
Sure.
You get people that say, well, I'm not very creative. Do you think that's kind of a cop out, or do you think
I
it does take an extra amount of creativity to go do something like that?
I don't I don't necessarily believe that anybody who says they're not creative just hasn't found their type of creative yet, is what I
Yeah.
think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, everybody's got their thing. Like having a podcast. This is really creative to me. Like I find that creative. But you in your case, I wouldn't be like, "Oh, he's doing a piece of furniture. That's awesome. How creative." Like that. I don't know if that's your jam. So, some people I work in the car world, like it is I am flabbergasted every day when I walk into work and I see some of the work that these people do and that they are just incredibly talented. And I know if they weren't doing this for a job, like at home, like I want to see their own cars and like what they do with that. And I think that's a really big reason that I'm drawn to the car community is because so many guys, they're like, I'm not creative. I'm like, what are you talking about? You just built this car.
Yeah.
You just built this car how you wanted to build this car, not how anybody else told you to build it. Like that to me is creativity.
Yep.
And so it's really when people say that they're not creative, I think it's really their definition of what they think creative is. Maybe they're not like artsy in the, what they think the creative sense is. They're not like a painter. They're not, they're
Right.
not beautiful at drawing. They're not an artist like that. But there's different types of artistry. Like welding is a type of artistry, and I find like so many people have such creativity when it comes to just welding. I know everybody's seen like those little animals that you make or, rose petals out of spoons or, stuff like that. And I think it's really finding your type of creativity
It,
and
it go,
labeling it like that.
and what you alluded to before, as far as when you're younger, and I think that's where everyone to that point. And the reason I asked that question is because I think at some point we just lose our understanding of our creativity, because when we're young, when we're kids and we're making up games, and whether we're playing alone by ourselves or with our friends and making up some random backyard game, that's creativity right there. And then it becomes a point where maybe you get to middle school, high school, and there's just more of the peer pressure, and you don't want to be too out there, where the self-confidence comes into play, or lack of self-confidence, and that's where that starts to dwindle a little bit. Because I think maybe a handful of years ago I wouldn't have felt I was very creative, but also I know that there's lots of random ideas popping around in my brain here. It's just which ones do I want to go pursue? So
Yeah. And I think the ambition, it follows
right.
creativity quite closely. Like, are you ambitious enough or I have this tattoo on my arm. It says doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. And that was before the internet existed where I could search for that stuff. Now there's an artist or the actual author of it, I should say.
Okay.
But I really think it does. Like if the more you doubt yourself, the less you give yourself the opportunity to do something that might really suit you very well. I didn't ever expect to be a model. Like who wants to like go into I'm going to be a model? I mean there are people that do that, but that wasn't me because I just wasn't I attributed that in like the pageant world and that just wasn't for me. But I do it for me and not really for anybody else. So I don't really care what other people have to say about it.
Right. Yep.
it's it's like well received, but all of it is really just for me. And like I said before, it all comes back to, I'm thinking of the internet as a positive place as a whole, right? Because you got to think positive. But I think that your people will find you. And even just locally, your people will find you, whatever it is that you wind up doing. You just find your like minded folks, then it'll happen. And I also learned it taught me to stop forcing things that don't come naturally. Like I want to challenge. I just remember this piece of furniture that I got. I was like, yes, I'm going to make this awesome. And I started doing it. And I'm like, I feel horrible throwing something away or like quitting, but it's not, no, I don't think I can't force it anymore. It's not going to happen. Like, so it's teaching myself boundaries along with that creativity.
Yeah.
So, and it's, I don't know about you, but there's the whole middle age thing, cause it's later than you think. And you're like, shoot, I should get some boundaries, huh? Like those are a thing I should have been working on for a while. So yeah, it all comes really back to just the creative part of it.
Yeah.
And everybody just needs to find what it is that they enjoy, like even if you think of sports, nobody thinks of sports as being creative, but somebody has to create the plays. In football. Right. Think about that, like somebody needs to think of them. I just keep thinking of the water boy, Henry Winkler. Like, poor Henry Winkler. But like somebody needs to create those plays, and nobody ever really gives those people credit for being creative. Nobody ever really looks at it like that. But maybe creatives do.
Right.
That's kind of how it is.
Always, and it's always evolving, and even now, there's been some plays that have been around for years, but there's always offensive and defensive schemes, new plays, it's continuously whether improving or changing, but that's a good point. I think that's where music continues to change.
Music is a big one.
And art, which is a part of, music is a part of art. So you're continuously just seeing that change over time. And I think that's again, where that creativity really comes from. But I want to talk about Callie a little bit. Not my dog, Callie.
I was going to say your dog. What?
living out in California, I don't know if you ever heard this, but I named Callie after it's spelled like the state, Cali, and when I got her, it was in 2016, and when I adopted, she was 2 years old. She had just turned 2, and her name she had been at the Humane Society for maybe a week and a half, just had gotten through all her shots and all that stuff they need to do after they had brought her up from when they rescued her down south. And her name was Emma. And I remember thinking, that just doesn't, I don't know. She's only been Emma for like 10 days, so she doesn't know what her name is. I'm going to change it. And I was trying to think like, be a cute little dog name. And I thought of the name Callie, and then I was like, I want to spell it something differently. And then I thought of my friends that live in California, you and Steve.
Oh, thanks.
I'm going to spell, well, this is true. I'm not just saying this. This is actually true. So I'm like, I'm going to spell it Cali. So then when people ask me, it's like, oh, it's Cali, like the state. Oh, you used to live out there? I'm like, no, but I know people who do.
There you go.
You were out here. You out there. Come on. Yeah.
You visited once or twice.
I know. I need to get out there again. Speaking of, what have you noticed? You've lived in Wisconsin a long time. You've now been you grew up here. You've now
been here for 10 years already.
Yeah. So what do you notice that's how living out there, what's different? The vibe,
people automatically, I'll tell you one thing. People automatically think very cynically when you do something nice for them.
Really?
Like I'm used to like the Midwest niceness where you do nice things for people and you don't have to expect anything in return. Be like, no, I'm just nice. I'm just doing this to help because like, that's how I am. That's how I grew up. But like people, they're like, what's your ulterior motive?
Wow.
Like, what's going on? Why are you helping me? Like, okay, if you don't want my help, bye. Like, but people as a whole are very cynical and nobody uses blinkers.
Oh.
Nobody. You'd think that Teslas would use blinkers for you at this point, but no.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-mm. No. Horrible drivers. I'm pretty sure like none of them ever learned how to drive. They just kind of figured it out.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure how this works out here yet.
Is it like just kind of that, I guess we'll say laziness, or is it more like reckless? Because Milwaukee's got clearly the reckless driving issue.
Yeah, you guys had that whole like Kia boys thing for a minute. Are they still stealing Kias, or are we kind of over that now?
I haven't looked at the numbers in a while. It was Hyundais and Kias were the two. And at one point, actually, this was kind of wild. So you think about all in Chicago's over 4 times the size as far as population goes of Milwaukee. And in 2021, I believe, Milwaukee had more cars stolen than Chicago. So they were hitting up both cities, but Milwaukee it was just all it was crazy.
That's ridiculous.
But no, they pretty much got that under control, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, because kids went back to school.
Yeah, now cars are just getting broken into. I mean, that's the thing. They're looking for the cops say drugs or money. Okay, well,
because people leave drugs and money in their car all the time.
And exactly. I have a note. Just come grab. No, but
it's just great. It's in the glove box,
and it doesn't matter where. I mean, it's
next to the gun.
There's more prevalent areas, but they still come downtown, and there's a couple streets where I'm like, I would never park my car there because when I do walk past with my dog, I'm like, oh, there's more broken glass. And I don't know who's supposed to pick that up in the city. I don't know if that's the public works or what, but there's just like broken windshields that just sit there for weeks on end. And
that's fun.
But so back to my question: is that would you say more? I don't know. Maybe out by you it's different, but like or like more in the city. But is it more the reckless driving or just kind of the lazy? Like I'm just getting me because I don't consider the blinker necessarily reckless. It's just more annoying and unsafe.
I think there's a combination of both.
Okay.
So I live in this town and everybody kind of like craps on it a lot because it's like the crime is so high and blah, blah, blah. And it's really not. It's only in like one area. It's kind of like Milwaukee. You can't judge all of Milwaukee based on one little street of it, right?
Yep.
So where I live, the highway out here is called Highway 4. Very big, I would say, combination of both. Dangerous, reckless, and just inattentive driving. People used to get just shot randomly on the freeway. Like, I just assume that these people are targeted because, like, why would you just want to shoot somebody random? You're wasting your bullets and your effort and your energy. But they used to, hasn't been anymore. We actually have police officers now, though, so that's helpful.
Oh, that's
really helpful. But no, I think out here the minimum speed on Highway 4 is about 75, and if you go any slower than that, you're going to get blown by. You know, with no blinker, just cutting people off, whatever. And I think more towards the city, people get a little bit more. You can't really go that fast usually, so it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But there's just weird, like, traffic stuff that happens. On the way home, we went to go see Metallica the other night. And on the way home, it was like midnight. And I'm driving down the freeway, and there's 4 open lanes, right? There's one car in front of me. And it didn't slam on its brakes. It wasn't accelerating. It was just like, took their foot off the gas. And it was the only, and I'm behind it. I'm like, why is this getting closer? Crap, it's getting closer. Oh my God, crap, it's getting closer. And I'm like, you know, and Steve's behind me following me. He's like, what was that? And he's like, oh crap, you know, but I'm like, is this, my friend Dave got in a car accident kind of like that. And he's like, they didn't have their blinkers on. They were just stopped on the freeway. And he got in a really bad accident, totaled his Challenger. Like, thankfully he was okay. Everybody was okay. But like, I wonder if that's like another weird insurance scam that people have, you know, like, let me just take my foot off the gas on the freeway and somebody will ram into me so I can make money. But it's weird. But there's just weird driving out here. Like, I think a lot of people just don't know to look in their mirrors, or maybe they trust their smart car to drive for them. There's driverless cars in the city, and I refuse. I'm like, I am not getting in one of those. Like, I've seen Transformers. Maximum Overdrive, I've seen that too. But yeah, it's what people have a lot of faith in technology out here, and I don't. So I do everything manually. Like, I have a camera on my rear view mirror in my daily car, and I like never use it because it's this big. But you know, I use my mirrors. I drive like a 40-year-old drives. Except for at the racetrack.
Probably smart. Yeah, yeah. That's great.
But yeah, I don't know. People are, it's a combination because, certain towns, when I go to work, I work in kind of like I'm going to call it like the Brookfield of the Bay Area,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And so I work in a little bit nicer of an area, and it's wild because I'm driving down Highway 4, and then when it branches off to go to the other freeway, it slows down like 10, 15 miles per hour. So you're going like maximum 60 miles per hour. You're like going below the speed limit. And that's just how it is there. Like it doesn't matter what time of day, you're just always going to go about 10, 15 miles an hour slower in that part of the neighborhood. And I think that may be just as people following the rules. People think they're rebellious by not following the rules. And there's like the sideshow like originated out here, which is all getting out street takeovers and stuff are making its way to the Midwest. So like I think it's just people that think they can get away with whatever they want because they have gotten away with whatever they want. And you just have to think sometimes about how your actions affect other people and their actions in response to that.
Correct.
I don't think a lot of people think that far. There's not enough energy, not enough time in the day.
No.
And that might have something to do with the fact that a lot of people, not as much after COVID, but a lot of people were commuting multiple hours a day. And that just wears on you. It's just boring, wears you down. And I can understand the inattentiveness.
You and Steve for a while. I remember when I came to visit, Steve was showing me we would drive to his station where he'd get on the BART, and then it was like another, I was like, holy God, dude, you do this every day. He's like, both ways. I'm like, oh God. Yeah.
It was wild. But luckily I was a little closer, and then, like everything got locked down for an entire year or 2 years or however long it was stupidly out here. But
like we talked about before,
everybody's
we hit record. It's still 2020. So it's still going.
It's 20. Last year was 2020. It's really 2025, but last year's 2020.
Yes.
You just fast forwarded, hit that little, the Mario Kart little thing, and you go, zoop.
Well, really, in 50 years, we're going to look at this like it was like a year. I mean, even though it feels like it went on forever, but like still, it was going to, and when you look at a big picture, like, oh, these 5 years.
I mean, think of 9/11. I remember where I was, but and now I think back, I was like, wow, that all happened. And I didn't even think about it. I had no idea. I was just living my own life. And I'm like, okay, life goes on. I mean, nasty things happen and it sucks, but life goes on.
No.
We hope.
Yes.
We can hope.
You've talked about your being a car enthusiast in a few different ways. How has this allowed you to combine your enjoyment of cars with what you're now doing for a living?
Oh, that's a fun one. So Steve, soccer Steve, he got a Shelby GT350 in 2020, and I got a 72 Camaro in 2020. And in 2021, my car started on fire, so we had to rebuild it. But that's a whole separate thing. I'll touch on that later. But he got his car in order to race it at the track, so drive it on a track, because he's always wanted to do that. Who doesn't want to become a race car driver, right? So he finally had the opportunity to get this car and drive it on the track. And we went to a couple different track days, and we kind of settled on this one group that we like called the NorCal Shelby Club. And fast forward a couple of years, I wound up on the board of directors. I think 2025. So the beginning of 2024, I officially was on the board of directors for the NorCal Shelby Club. And it's like a subsidiary of a national Shelby Automobile of America or club, something like that. Shelby American Automobile Club. There we go. I always say it backwards. So it's pretty cool. I do all of their social media and advertising, PR type of stuff. But I did it all. I'm like, I'm going to get free track days. No, I still don't get free track days. But I'm helping the club out quite a bit. And then another board member, he owns a shop. It's called Motovisions, and he's a custom car builder. And he built like his race cars. He restores cars, and he asked me to come work for him, do some, I'll figure out where I land. He needed somebody to help him at least with the PR and stuff. He must have liked what I'd done with the club.
Yeah.
And so I actually got a job in September, like a real job. A real job. They're all real jobs.
Of course.
I don't know why I still say that, but so I started working there and I found my home basically just doing marketing, PR type of stuff. And I get to hang out by cars all day and see the builds and kind of what I was talking about before. It's just like I love seeing people's amazing talents and creativity when they get to create something that they want. Like there's 2 cars that we're building from scratch pretty much, 2 trucks, I should say. And then we have another one that we're building for SEMA this year. And this is like the 2.0 of this one for SEMA. So I'm really, really excited for that one. And I get to start advertising that one once we, start to see some finishing touches on it. But that's really cool because Steve and I had always gone to racetracks and things. And it's fun to actually go to these events and meet all the people who are creative. Like some of these guys, they like can barely walk, but they'll be out there racing their 69 fastback.
Oh, wow.
Like around the track. And I love the drive, no pun intended, but I love that they're so driven and they just keep going, like they can't walk, but they can drive, but I think that it just reminds me of like home because I used to go to car shows when I was a kid and I would hate it and be like, why are you dragging me around all these car shows? But it's one of those things that I really enjoy now. And I enjoy it for the fact, yes, I love the cars, but I love to see people's creativity. I love to talk to people because I already know we have something in common. And you never know really who you're going to meet or what kind of interesting stuff you'll get yourself into. Like I was in a car club and we had 4 women with amazing muscle cars, like old school muscle cars. And it's another thing. It's like that whole get a group of women together who are like-minded I think it's a very powerful thing. And I didn't really ever get to experience a lot of that because I always hang around a lot of guys and that's kind of how I've always been. I always had male roommates, so it's one of those things that I really wanted to figure out. But now I get to work with cars all day long. I don't personally get to work with them. I suppose if I wanted to, I could. But I get to take pictures of them and promote them and just kind of show everybody else like what kind of creativity happens over here in our little corner of the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. And I get to spend a lot of time at the track. And somehow I managed to finagle myself a job where I get paid to like go hang out at racetracks and car shows. So
amazing.
somehow this worked out for me, but it's a lot of fun. And, going back to my car, I know I said it started on fire. So we had to, it's an interior fire, it was electrical fire, but we had to basically rip apart the whole interior. And Steve and a friend of mine, Mark, did all the wiring. We got to build this car how I want to build it now. So I get to show my creativity for once, and I never thought I'd have that opportunity because it's expensive.
Oh, God,
it's really expensive. But you know what? I hate to say that, like, having my car start on fire was a horrible thing, but it really brought a lot of positive in return. Like I learned how to do a lot of things on my own car, and that knowledge wound up allowing me to be where I'm at now. So I'm really grateful for that because I never saw my life going this direction, and I'm surprised that even did. I kind of have to like pinch myself, like, is this really my job? Like, do I get to do this for real? Like, this is so cool. So I tell everybody I'm retired. I'm 40 and I'm retired because I love it.
Working 4 jobs, but yeah, it's great.
I'm retired though. It's fine. I love everything I do.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's 2 of them. One of them I don't get paid for on the board, but the other one I do get paid for. So, and then I actually, in turn from this job at Motovisions, they hooked me up with a karting club. And that's like those guys who drive super karts and they're like bonkers. I don't even know how they go 100 and some miles an hour, like this far off the ground. Like these guys are wild. Like that's a whole other set of adrenaline. Like that, I don't even know how they do it. They're like, yeah, you're going to get so I have a track day next weekend. And they're like, yeah, you're going to get in a cart and you're going to drive around Thunderhill. I'm like, cool. Oh my God. I like prep myself here. But it's just the opportunities have just kind of presented themselves. And I am finally back in a place where I can take them.
It's the universe,
I feel, yeah,
it just sometimes they align, and you experienced a lot, and it now seems like everything's kind of has come together for you, and it's
yeah, it's
fantastic.
awesome.
That's great.
I
Yeah,
love it.
you gotta ride that wave,
Why not?
So you may not be able to answer this next question because maybe you don't have a lot of free time. But what do you what are some things you enjoy outside of everything we've discussed at this point?
What do I enjoy? I really enjoy music. I really like music, and I know you're a music person too. You really are pretty big
A
into
little
music.
bit, yeah. Yep.
So,
Where was
yeah,
I'm
Steve,
going to interrupt. Where was Metallica? Was that in the city or was that Berkeley or San Fran?
was at Levi Stadium, which is where the 49ers play. It's actually
Oh,
south
okay.
of the city.
Yeah, okay.
So it was big. But we were on the floor and we went to two shows. They had a Friday and a Sunday show. And they're from like most of them are from out here, they're
Okay.
formed out here. So it was a pretty cool show. We were on the floor and usually I don't like big arenas because the sound sucks or like you're far away and you're like, why am I just watching a screen?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of spoiled with places like the Rave and stuff like that. But yeah, it was excellent. Like I was never really a big Metallica fan. I liked them, but I kind of wanted to see Limp Bizkit more because I'm the out of the closet like Limp Bizkit fan. I really like Limp Bizkit. It was a good time. But
Awesome.
yeah, Metallica was fantastic. So we went to both of those shows, and Pantera opened the second day, which
Oh,
was
cool. Okay.
outstanding. And I, it wasn't the original Pantera, but I'm not complaining because they had amazing people filling in for Dime and Vinny. So that was totally worth it. But yeah, we've gone to a lot of shows this year, and I forget how much I really enjoy them. I love it, even if I'm not into the music. Like Steve loves metal, and I love metal too, but like not necessarily some of the metal he likes. Like some of it I can't really tolerate as much. So he actually did go to one show without me. I'm like, no, it's not going to be for me. I'm old now and I wear sunglasses if there's too many LED lights, and then
Yeah.
I have earplugs. But so the earplugs help. By the way, shout out to Loop earplugs because they are amazing. And it's it's the vibe there is just so cool. And because like I have the ability to listen to music as like I was in choir and stuff like my whole
Mhm.
school years, middle school, high school, and like I can pick out the different parts and I can pick out the the composure of the songs and things like that.
Yeah.
I really really appreciate it when people are actually playing instruments and they can play them and make
Yeah.
them sound how they make them sound. Like I love it. So that's kind of what I'm doing if I'm not doing any of those other things. We're going to shows, we're going to live music, or we watch a lot of music, a lot of different concerts
Hmm.
too. During lockdown, different bands were just putting out whole shows that they were
Oh,
playing,
sure.
in their basements or something. So we would watch a lot of those because we couldn't really go to shows. Yeah, it's a good time. So Steve still drags me to all his metal shows.
He brought me to one when I was
Yeah,
up there.
we were both there, remember?
Yeah, I do recall. I remember he picked me up from the airport, and I said, "Oh, so what's going on for the weekend?" And I was out there 3 nights maybe, and he's like, "Oh, I got a concert tomorrow," and I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Well, where is it?" He's like, "Oh, it's in Berkeley." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll just find a sports bar around there." And he's like, "Oh, well, no, you're coming with us." And I was like, "I don't. Who are you seeing? What is this?" And I was like, "Oh boy." It was actually pretty fun. It was, and what Steve said, it was like heavy metal, like light version. Like it wasn't.
Yeah, it was
So
Avatar for anybody who
there
wants
we
to
go.
know
Yeah.
Avatar.
So, and I was drawing a blank on the name. That was cool. I remember them being dressed all like
Yeah,
circus
they're a
type.
real like theatrical type
Yeah,
of
it was cool.
show.
And
They're really good. Yeah.
it wasn't because at least what Steve was. I remember him saying like it'll be loud and kind of crazy, but it's not going to be like what you're imagining. And I remember I learned something that night too, other than, don't judge a book by its cover, of course. But I remember watching some they weren't large, but they were smaller mosh pits in front of us and kind of being somewhat terrified for a minute. And Steve said, like, let me explain who these people are to you. He goes, you're not going to believe this, but watch how respectful they all are. He goes, there's people in here that are just, they're stressed out from their work or from their family or whatever, and they're just looking to kind of bump up against each other. And I'm like, okay, I can look at that. And he goes, and watch when someone falls over. Okay. Sure enough, a couple people fall over like 30 seconds later, and someone has a hand out right away and pulled them up. And I was like, holy crap. Like, I was just thinking like it was just going to be like my mind's going to like
Stampede.
WWF Royal Rumble back in the day. Steve and I obviously were huge wrestling fans, and like I just pictured it was going to be like a brawl, and I'm like, oh, are we standing too close to this? And of course I was not getting in there, but like it was really cool to see like the amount of respect and how he kind of explained it. Was like just hey, it's just trying to get your pent up energy, and I thought that was a good way to explain it because it made a lot more sense to me afterwards. And
it really is. It's like Zumba for metalheads.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. It was a good experience. It was, which is tied to a lot of things I've done since that trip years ago, was to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that was definitely one. And that was the same trip, mind you, that Steve said, hey, you're going to drive my car this weekend. And I was like, dude, I've only driven stick once, like 5 years ago. And it wasn't great. He goes, oh, well, you're going to do it again. So he takes me to a school parking lot near your house. And he's like, just don't stall out. And I was like, dude, I don't know. I don't even know how to not do that. And he's like, just don't do it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So we practice a few times. We go around literally maybe 5 minutes at the most, like in this parking lot. And he's like, all right, keep going. I was like, what? And he goes, just turn right here. Don't worry. Okay. So I turn just right out of the parking lot. No big deal. And all of a sudden there's an interstate on ramp. I was like, what's going on? He goes, yeah, you're going on the freeway. It's just like, I can't believe you're trusting me right now. And he's like, well, you're going to be fine. Just don't stall out. It's like, now there's more, but that was great. Again, one of those, like, I felt really good afterwards, but also like, hey,
good.
After 10 minutes of driving, like, I'm going to pull over now and you're going to drive the rest of the way home.
Your adrenaline was like,
yeah.
That was the first time I drove his car around the track. I was like, okay, we're done. That was a lot of fun. We're done.
And then I did give him crap though, because we went up to, it was a great trip, obviously.
Oh, you went up to Mount Diablo too, didn't you?
Yeah. And he was driving like he likes to drive. And at one point I was like, dude, you got to slow down on the way down. You got to slow down. I said, I'm going to get car sick. It's like those turns. I was like, buddy, I had the window. I think I had the window down, and I was like, yeah, you got to slow down, man. I'm like, I'm getting a headache.
I've been there too. Don't worry.
And he was great though, because he was like, oh, sorry, I didn't. Sometimes I forget other people are in the car with me.
He's funny. He's like, oh yeah, Pat's always been like that. I remember get a car sick in the back seat all the time.
Yeah, like
parents' car or something.
He'll remember what car it was, but I'm not in. Obviously, don't know. What it was, but his parents' new car. They took us to State Fair. We had to be like, I don't know, 10 or 12 maybe, and went to State Fair. And I remember we went on a bunch of rides, and I get like, it's just carnival rides, just the spins, the tilt-a-whirl and the scrambler and all that. And we end up, remember having some cream puffs and probably down too many of that and all the food and junk we ate.
Probably had a cheese on a stick.
Yeah, exactly. And I went on one more ride, and it was the tilt-a-whirl on the way home. So close to getting home. Probably within a mile from home. Uh-oh.
This is going to happen.
I also threw up at his house during a sleepover once. In my sleep. I think I had a concussion. I don't know if you know that story, but
oh no!
Oh, I literally think
that's really dangerous.
Thinking back on it, I must have probably a couple years before that. We were so excited. We had gone to the local video store. It was either Pick a Flick Video or we went to Video Country. So we were at one of those, and we got our. I think it was like a Mega Man video game or wrestling. It was one of those two to play it. And I was sleeping at his house. My parents were out of town. And my grandparents were staying over, watching the house. We ran inside, and like we were running down his hallway to get to his bedroom. Up at one point, and there's a closet door.
Oh no!
Open, and I just drilled it. I mean, I had a huge goose egg on my head.
Oh no!
Well, I still decided to sleep over. Why not?
Because you're next door.
I woke up in the middle of the night. I had thrown up in my sleep. What are you gonna do? But.
That was the 90s, so nobody knew anything about that.
I remember I had to go wake up. I think Steve was still sleeping, but I had to go wake up Pam and Gary in the room next door. And I remember going in their room and waking them up. I don't feel good. I had like just thrown up over my pajamas and bed. It was just...
My cousin used to be like that too. We'd be swimming and she'd be like, I gotta throw up. I'm like, oh my God. Go to the side of the pool next time.
Yeah. Gross. Well,
That's funny.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, don't worry, I got car sick on the way to LA one time.
Oof.
I didn't actually throw up, but I was gonna.
Most of the time it was my drinking days of getting sick, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, I'm proud of you for quitting drinking.
Oh, thank you. I know you have completely cut back, or mostly.
Oh yeah, I haven't had anything in years. One day I'm just like, man, I don't really need it anymore. I'm done.
That's great. Yeah, remember
well, actually, I started throwing up every time I drank, so that's really the real reason. I'm just like, yeah, we don't need this anymore. We're over it.
Right.
My liver's functioned enough for its lifetime. Let your liver do what it's supposed to do at this point, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, hey, Jess, I want to thank you. This was really, really fun. It was great to hear more about all your adventures out in the West Coast. You have a lot going on and a lot going for you, which is really exciting. So I appreciate you sharing that with all of the listeners.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.
We got to get together soon. We should just call Steve later and we should just all FaceTime.
We should do it. Definitely. All right. Well,
thank you for having me.
Of course.
Appreciate your time.
Likewise. Well, I found that to be thoroughly enjoyable. I hope you did as well. It's just another way to look at life and, Jess's outlook on things. She touched on quite a bit that resonated with me about doing things that not only make you happy, but that you can provide happiness for others. I think that's a great outlook on life and thing to consider as you go about your day-to-day existence. And I think it's really neat that she has been able to incorporate the things she's passionate about and her hobbies into a career. So that is excellent to hear. I want to thank Jess for being a guest on the It's Later Than You Think podcast. If you are interested in coming aboard, feel free to let me know. You can find Jess on her socials. That is Miss Blue Jay on Instagram. That is miss.blu.J. You can also find the Later Than You Think podcast on Instagram. That is at It's Later Than You Think podcast. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends, share, however you get your podcasts. We will talk to you next time.